to celebrate National Girls and Women's in Sport Day, as well as Black History Month. We're so honored to have Bianca Smith as our guest today. Bianca is the first Black woman to ever serve in the history of professional baseball as a coach on the field. We are so, everyone clap in the background because that couldn't be cooler. Bianca, welcome to Red Sox Nation. And thank you so much for being with us today. Bianca, before we begin our journey, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our partner in this presentation today, Jen Mead. Jen is the president of the Kelly Rodman Baseball Foundation. Kelly was a dear friend of mine, and I can't say enough for the impact that she made on our family here at Planet Fast Pitch. She spoke with our kids last year and left us absolutely mesmerized by her sass and her passion and her desire. And I think that she is definitely someone that broke the glass ceiling with a baseball bat. She just went after it. And what's important about joining the two of you together today in front of our kids is I think that we go back to the saying of, if they see it, they believe they can do it. If they see it, they can imagine this career for themselves. So they realize it's possible. And so with that, Jen, welcome. You're a big part of our family, and I'm so excited to get working with you on Kelly's Foundation. If you could take some time to talk to us about what you're up to and what it means to you, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much to not only Denise and Planet Fast Pitch for having us be a part of this, but obviously honored to be here with Bianca as well. With much of the stuff that she's doing and beginning to do is obviously what Kelly was in the works with as well. So obviously I started the Kelly Rodman Baseball Foundation. Kelly passed away, unfortunately, in last March, and just want to really keep her spirit alive, her passion for the game. I mean, she was everything baseball in a good way, in a healthy way, in a positive way, and her mission or her dedication to the game was just really kind of helping everybody see the good in it and be a part of it. And she really was passionate about mentoring and helping young girls, boys, men, women stay in the game, find avenues. And it was so interesting to listen to her try to educate or kind of tell her story. She started a little bit later, obviously, in the scouting aspect of it, but had always been heavily involved in the game, playing 12 years professional women's baseball and working for some licensing companies in all the major league clubhouses, and then really got into scouting in 2014 and kind of took it from there and became full-time with the Yankees. And to see her spirit and her passion for the game and just her message to everybody to be great today. She has a coin, and that's kind of the slogan of the foundation, to be great today, just taking it one day at a time and not giving up on your dreams no matter how long it takes. And that's kind of what I'm going to do with the foundation, is the areas that she was passionate about and that were really important to her in helping youth in some underprivileged areas with equipment and funding, and that was really big for her. And the second was she really wanted to help people navigate how to get involved in Major League Baseball, how to in any aspect. And that's kind of what I want to help as well with some funding, so some scholarship opportunities for those that want to go and major in anything. It doesn't just have to be scout school. You could want to be a coach, you could want to be a grounds crew, you could want to go to law school to be a general manager. And I want to have some of those scholarship opportunities available. It could be as well for scout school, but I think that's changed a little bit in the dynamics of how that's with the whole pandemic, but and the avenues to get there. But like I said, in any aspect, sports information, photography, whatever you want to do in Major League Baseball, that's what I want to kind of assist and help for those that are interested. So obviously, getting things going with some of the funding and the events and have that scholarship opportunity available and grants for, like I said, under-resourced youth programs, and then some scholarship opportunity for men and women that really want to try to navigate this and get going, because that's what Kelly was all about, was helping young people start with internships or how to make connections, how to make contacts. And that's where I'm going to start, and then we'll see kind of where that morphs into with some other opportunities. But for now, that's kind of the two angles that we're starting with, and hopefully can adventure off into a few more things.
That's incredible. That representation is so important through media, through the internet and through living, breathing people like you, Bianca. I mean, you are carrying the torch now, and you're so young, and you have so much ahead of you. Can you speak to a little bit about if you had a situation that maybe helped you along the way, like Kelly's Foundation will help? Like, what was your inspiration, or did you have mentorship?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on. But the mentors I had, yeah, there were several for sure. One in particular, Tyrone Brooks with Major League Baseball. I feel like everybody knows who he is at this point, but he's been mentoring me since I was in graduate school. And I feel like he's been the biggest help I had, just making sure I knew the right people, making sure I knew what I needed to do to get to where I am now. And just offering kind of the same thing with this foundation, offering opportunities, whether it was going to, Sabre convention and getting to learn more about analytics, or just getting an opportunity to get in front of different people for job interviews, recommending me for different areas. So that was definitely the biggest support that I had. And I really don't think I would have been here without his help. So, I mean, I definitely believe like this foundation is really important, just having that kind of opportunity for, girls and women who are trying to get into this industry. It is very hard without some kind of assistance.
I could tell you that the immediate impact that you will have, Bianca, and what Kelly had last year, we ask for applications for our programs here at Planet Fast Pitch, and we ask maybe like what people might aspire to be. And this last year, it was people want to be in Major League Baseball, people want to scout. And I think like, hey, you did it. Like just by the power of a few hours, what you can do. And so no pressure here, but I mean, you really, you're in a great situation. And I hope you know how big this is to so many people. So thank you. And, I will say, we are all, there are a lot of people on this call that are here in it's Red Sox Nation, 100%. Kelly, she bled blue. She was a Yankee, 100%. And, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what team you play for. It just matters that we're progressing, and women get a chance. And I think that's the most important thing. So let's talk Red Sox for a second, okay? So Bianca, the phone rings, right? It's the Red Sox. They tell you got the job. Like, what did you do? Like, what was your reaction to that?
My first reaction was, don't scream into the phone. Don't scream into the phone. Like, I don't want to scream in the ear of the guy who's offering me this job, but couldn't stop smiling. Honestly, I was kind of expecting it. I was in the middle of practice. I had like an hour block in between two different sessions, and they texted me during the first one and said, hey, can we talk to you later? So this the entire session, I'm just like, oh my gosh, something's going to happen. They're going to call me. Like, I feel like if they were going to reject me, they probably would have just sent an email. So I could not focus. That was already one issue. But yeah, as soon as I got that call, I just couldn't stop smiling. Was trying to keep myself professional so I can at least talk with them and figure out what exactly they were offering me. But as soon as I hung up, walked right back into the facility and just started cheering. And I'm not the loudest person, especially when I coach. I like, unless it's a really exciting play or something, I'm usually pretty laid back and like, okay, just let things happen. But in that case, I just started cheering. I had a couple of kids still in the facility, and they got startled because they weren't expecting that from me. I told them what happened, and then as soon as I did, I picked up the phone again and called my sister and told her what happened, and she started cheering on the phone.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's talk on so the interview process. I coach a lot of girls. I mean, you know what I do here, so I see thousands of kids, and I think it's so important to be able to speak for yourself. And so tell us a little bit about the interview process for you. Like, what was the toughest question you were asked during that whole process?
Oh wow, I'd have to really think back. Honestly, the interview process was 4 interviews in the span of a week. Ooh. And at the same time, I had a convention going on, or a virtual convention going on. So I was focused on that, and I was working. So it was a lot going on in that 1 week. So initially, I actually had a woman in HR reach out to me asking if I wanted to speak about opportunities in baseball ops. And of course, I wasn't going to say no. So we spoke for about half an hour, just her getting to know me, my background, what I was interested in. She recommended to the VPs to speak with me. And then about a week or two later, I get an email from her saying, so scouting and player development want to talk to you. I was like, all right, we'll schedule those interviews. And then about 2 days before the first one, I get another email. So analytics wants to talk to you too. I was like, all right, I guess I'll put that in as well. So I spoke with scouting on Monday. That lasted about an hour. Spoke to analytics on Wednesday. That was half an hour. Spoke to player development on Friday, I believe, and that was an hour and a half. And then spoke to our field and hitting coordinators the next Monday, and that lasted 2 hours. And really what I remember the most is not even really the questions. It was the fact that we just connected. It really wasn't an interview. It just felt like a conversation where we were talking about baseball and coaching philosophies and what I thought I could bring to the organization. And it went really well. Yeah, honestly, I don't think there really was a difficult interview question. It was your typical ones, kind of the ones I expected, go over your background. What is your philosophy on this? If you had this issue with the player, like how would you approach it? Actually, I think one of my favorite ones was if you were working with a player for the first time, what is your process? And that's something I'd been thinking about for the last 2 years as I started doing private lessons, starting at a new school, so working with 30-something new players. So that was probably my favorite question, getting to just kind of talk about my processes.
Can you answer that for us? Because that's already on my list of questions to ask you. Like, we're dying to know, like, when you meet a new hitter, a new player, but let's talk hitting because that's fun, right? And it's pretty specific. Like, what's your approach?
Yeah, so my first approach is, of course, I want to know where they're at physically and just fundamentally. So actually, the first thing I ask is, have you seen another hitting coach? And I think it tends to shock a couple players. I actually had a freshman who, I have 2 players actually at Carroll who do see hitting coaches on their own. And I asked one of our freshmen, and when he said yes, he was kind of like, I'm not sure if I really want to tell you this. I mean, he didn't really have a lot of buy-in. And the next thing I asked was, okay, can you give me his contact info so I can call him?
Nice.
And to me, that's just like, I don't want to have to reinvent what he already knows. If he's already at a point fundamentally that we're good, then we can just progress. And also, I don't want to give him contradicting information. So I actually called his hitting coach the next night to get more information on what they've been doing, if there's anything that he wanted me to touch on, and then also just to get to know the player. If there is anything that I should be looking out for, especially as a freshman, this is the first time, he's away from family, brand new situation. So I wanted to make sure that if there's anything like mentally, anything outside of baseball, I needed to look for. Other than that, like mechanically, I do several assessments. I do a movement assessment just to see if there are any physical limitations that I have to consider. I do a blast sensor assessment just to get your general numbers, but then I also just get video, because there are some times where the video and the blast numbers don't always match up. So I actually prefer the video if I have it, so I could slow it down and really break down the swing. As much as the numbers are helpful, I found that actually just seeing it helps me a lot more. So I try to do all of that and gather as much information about the player first before I start giving them instruction.
That's awesome. That deep dive is so important. So when you do your movement screens, then do you work with your training department, your athletic trainers, to try to shore up like mobility, stability issues, or is that, do you build a full workout for them?
So that's the plan. The movement assessments I've really done on the youth and travel side. We haven't really approached it as much on the college side yet, but I do want to do that. I actually have talked to our strength and conditioning coach, though. He showed up at a practice a couple of days ago, and I immediately started talking to him because he wasn't much of a baseball fan, so he wanted to come to practice to learn more about the movement. And I said, that's great. I would love to talk to you about this. I think I have a player who has an ankle mobility issue, so I'd love to try to come up with a drill or a program that would help him. So I'm very interested in working with our strength and conditioning department to come up with more baseball specific drills that will also help them. A lot of the issues that my players will ask me about, probably half the time my answer is get stronger. Like let's work on a drill that is the same movement that you would do as a hitter, but with weights. So that is definitely the next step that I plan on doing. Hopefully I'll be able to implement it before I leave.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was such a change in me as a coach, just to be able to understand that sometimes they just can't, their body can't, and there's not one swing for everyone. There's not one pitch for everyone. So that's awesome. And boy, the woman sitting down there in the corner, Jen, she could help us with all that. Right, Jen?
I think I got to watch out for some job security here with you guys.
We know enough on that side to be dangerous. keep us swinging. Well, so if you could put your wish list together, technology speaking. So now you're going with the Red Sox, and I'm not saying they have an unlimited budget, but you might have some extra money to spend. Like, what would your dream hitting facility look like with technology?
Oh my gosh, there's no end, honestly. Yeah, I'm of the mentality that there's no such thing as too much information as long as you know how to compartmentalize it. And I know it can get overwhelming, but if you learn not only the information, but know when to use it, that's when it becomes beneficial. And that's when you're not going to get bogged down by too much. Because there are some things that I'll get information for that I don't really need. And that's fine, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So for a hitting facility or just a facility in general, I love using our blast sensors, especially at a level where we don't have a lot of resources. That's been really helpful. Can never go wrong with just slow motion cameras and radar guns. Honestly, I told my players I want to have like a 360 camera, so I can get like a 360 angle of their actual swing instead of having to get 4 swings from each different side of their body. But I'd love to do that. I've discovered the benefit of getting a swing even from the back, which has been helpful. Just seeing like the start of their swing and where their barrel's at. So I'd love to have that. K-Vest, of course, I mean, I would love to get, because you can slow down the video as much as you want, but it's really helpful when you actually have the information telling you what parts of the body are going first. I love working with hit tracks. I know there's a lot of coaches out there who they try it for the first time and they find, at least with the younger kids, that all they want to do is just hit as hard as they can and see where the ball goes. But as far as getting your players in a game mentality, that actually helps. It's hard when you're in the cage and you have no idea whether it's an actual hit or not. So being able to step in and go, okay, I'm actually in a game, that helps with the visualization and the mental side more. And that's how I view using hit tracks. And then love Rapsodo. I haven't used Rapsodo hitting really, but I do use Rapsodo pitching, and I was trying to put together a plan to use Rapsodo pitching and blast sensors at the same time to create a heat map for our players so they can see their numbers based on the type of pitch they're seeing.
Wow, that's cool.
So
you're smart enough to develop some middleware code that could combine those two. I bet you're smart enough to do that.
Well, we're still working on that. It's at this point, it's kind of a timing issue and making sure Rapsodo works in our facility with the lighting. I'd say the last one is, actually there's 2 more. So anything with any type of technology using pitch recognition, and then virtual reality. Being able to actually see a pitch come in without having the strain of having to swing. It'd be like stepping into a bullpen, but this way you don't have to worry about using arms too. So I'd love to have like a station where players are just seeing a pitch come in, working on their timing, working on their focus, or working on their approach without actually having to have a bat in their hands.
Right.
So that would be like, so it's kind of everything. Like I can see a use for every piece of technology that comes in. As long as you use it properly, there's so much benefit to it.
It's so fun. And please, everyone who's listening, like I didn't pay her to answer this because I was really curious to know what my shopping list would be, but we have all that here. So kids listening, like we have all that here. So we could do that with you. It's so fun. Hit tracks is amazing. The K-Vest is, the kinematic sequence opened my eyes to a whole other way of thinking. Like it's the proof's right there in the graph, So we don't have virtual reality. We use Axon, but it's, I know exactly what you mean. So that's my next step. If you say it, I think we're going to do it. And I think, what also sounds like fun is you coming here to do some kind of hitting camp with us, because you could come and play with all our stuff. So.
Hey, I would love to. That's my next goal in the off season, is to be able to travel the country and doing camps and clinics at different facilities instead of expecting kids to come to me. So I
Right.
want to be able to go to several different facilities and just do a, a day or even a weekend camp or clinic.
Let's do it. Let's do it for softball. And then let's do it for baseball, because I think, and one of the things I wanted to ask you about is representation of the Black community in baseball. And I read sadly that participation numbers are dropping. And, how can you um, invigorate the community, and how can you get out there? And I think one of the things that we might be able to do with the Kelly Rodman Foundation is create events and invite student athletes who don't have the money to come in and pay $100 for a lesson, right? And be able to get to that part of the community. So, I'll say it right now, like I'm more than willing to make that happen. I have a great place for that to happen. I happen to know the owner, so I'd love to get you two working together on something up here in New England. So if you're in, we're in. Sound good?
Oh yeah.
That's so cool. So Bianca, I know a lot of student athletes are going to listen to this, and your journey is always very important, because they're 13, 14, 15 years old, and they're sitting there like, I can't imagine what my college is going to, like, what my future is going to look like, because it's so blurry. Like the three of us have been there, don't know what you don't know. And so can you kind of circle back to that time? Like, what made you, so if ever, you all should have done your homework, but Bianca's a graduate of Dartmouth. She's an Ivy Leaguer. What drew you to Dartmouth, first of all, and what was your athletic, because I think it's a little non-traditional, what was your athletic recruiting journey like along that way?
Yeah. So what initially drew me to Dartmouth is actually both my parents went. So I grew up with it. And no offense to New England, but I had like one rule in our house, and it was I wasn't allowed to go to Harvard. Thanks to both my parents. But I mean, what drew me to it later was just the small college atmosphere. I mean, my family, we're an outdoorsy family. All of my siblings, we played multiple sports. We were very involved in multiple different things, volunteering, Girl Scouts, choir, like everything we could do. So getting to go to a school where I had the outdoors, I had that opportunity, but they encouraged you to be involved as much as possible at the school. Like, I don't think I would have had a chance at many other schools to do what I did at Dartmouth. I mean, I played 3 sports on top of, working, and started up a sports business club with some of my friends, did radio every day, did videography, and still managed to keep up my grades. So this is something that the school encouraged, and that's what I loved. And then the alumni network after, that's how I got my first start in the game, was reaching out to Dartmouth alum who were in the game already. And they were more than willing to help me out as much as they could. And as far as my recruiting, I was not recruited. So if you got to the point where you're not recruited, don't let that stop you. I actually hurt myself my senior year of high school. I broke my thumb very first game of the year sliding into second. I didn't know how to pop up slide properly, and I used to do the put your hands down to push yourself up. Yeah. Thankfully, I learned how to pop up slide later. But because of that, I kind of gave up on the idea of playing in college. It was something I initially wanted to do, but I started softball pretty late. I didn't start until I was 13, so right before high school. I actually played soccer for 10 years, and then didn't make our high school team. So by that time, I was like, okay, nobody's paying attention to me. I mean, I wanted to go to Dartmouth anyway. I guess I'm not going to play softball. And I got to Dartmouth and joined the cheer team instead, because I wanted to still do something physical. I still shock people. I'm 5 foot flat, and I was a base. So I was the person lifting everybody in the air. But that's because of softball, all that strength training. And I only joined the softball team because I happened to run into the softball coach, started talking with her. I actually thought she was a student. She looked so young. And when I told her I ran most of my senior year because I broke my thumb on my catching hand, she said, well, we're looking for speed. Do you want to try out? I was like, yeah. I mean, sure, I'm not going to say no. Tried out, made the team, thankfully. Funny enough, I was actually also playing hockey at the time. I decided to give that a try, and thank God softball worked out, because I would not have lasted long in hockey. And then joined the club baseball team after that. So, I mean, there's always a way to play. The club baseball team was it was a brand new club. I think they started up maybe a month before I joined. And I decided, if I got the time, let me try that too. So I encourage students whenever I talk with them, if there's not a sport or a club that's already on campus, find a way to create it. Like there's always some way to play. Like even after you're done with college, if you're not thinking of trying to go pro or trying to do something really, but you still want to play, I look at leagues here. If I hadn't taken the Red Sox job, I was actually planning on trying out for the national team again or playing in a men's league just so I can keep playing. So there's always some opportunity. I am familiar with the recruiting process though, since my brother went through it and working in collegiate athletics. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with it, but at least my recruiting process, there was no real recruiting. I just kind of showed up and then joined the team.
Well, that's what's so special about everyone worries so much. And I think, I hope everyone's hearing this message that if you do the right things and you're willing to make things happen, good stuff happens, right? And your journey doesn't have to be as pre-planned as we all think. Like you have to follow your heart and just work really hard and be a good person. And sometimes great stuff happens, Yesterday was National Golden Retriever Day, just in case you wanted to know. And it made me laugh because I was doing some homework on you, and you had a different major that you thought you were going to do going into Dartmouth. Can you tell everyone what that was going to be?
So most people actually only know the first one. I was actually planning on double majoring in biology and theater and going to vet school.
Yeah,
I had a very strategic plan. I was going to major in biology and theater. I did theater all through middle, high school. And then I was going to go to the University of Pennsylvania vet school, and I was going to be a veterinarian. And that was my goal for about 12 years. I had that set in stone, and I took one biology class my freshman year and went, nope. I can't do this. Which is hilarious because now I'm studying like biomechanics and neuroscience. But
right.
At the time, I was like, this is not the path for me. I realized I only wanted to be a vet because I loved animals. I now have a cat, so that's good enough for me. I would love a golden retriever, but I don't have time for a dog right now.
It's tough. They're not very portable.
Yeah, a little bit harder. My cat is a better flyer than I am at this point, so he's a lot easier to work with.
And then you graduated with what degree?
From Dartmouth, I got a bachelor's in sociology.
Right. So everyone, again, life just keeps changing. So don't worry if you don't know. Even if you think you know, it might change, and that's okay. That's part of life. So then you graduate from Dartmouth and you end up at Case Western. And just so everyone knows, I find this, you're so multifaceted, like you just have so many layers, but you have a dual master's degree in sport management and law. So the woman's super smart. You've got all these degrees, and you're spending so much time trying to break into baseball, right? And what I find is really interesting, and let's talk money right now, because this is like, you go to Dartmouth, you're an Ivy Leaguer, super smart, you have 2 master's degrees, and
actually it's one master's and a law degree.
Oh, my bad. See, that's why you have the law degree. Proved it. So now you're interning in MLB corporate, and you're interning with, I think, the Texas Rangers, the Cincinnati Reds. Like, the word interning to me sounds like not lots of money, right? And the passion, and I guess my question where I'm going is, you put a lot of time into this where you are now, and you probably weren't into it for the paycheck initially, and you probably didn't say, well, how much does this cost, right? And the advice that I'm looking maybe for you to give kids right now is, how do you balance the line by articulating your self-worth, but yet knowing when to invest and knowing when to work because you have a bigger goal? And how do you balance that?
It's very difficult. I actually did think of the financial aspects of it, because an internship, that takes sacrifice. And I think just realizing the internship is the investment. I mean, it's not just doing the job, it's the networking, it's the connections you make. I mean, I still keep in touch with the Reds coaches. As a coach here at Carroll, if I have a question about strategy, I know I could text the strategy coach and see what he says. Like, it might take a day or two because I know they're busy, but they always respond. And that's part of what I got out of that internship. It's just those connections that you make. And eventually it'll get you to where you want to be. And as far as knowing your self-worth, when you're first starting off, I think you know your self-worth by how much value you bring to the team. Your self-worth shouldn't be based just on how much money you're making, especially when you're just starting. Because, yeah, especially like if you go to grad school, it's really hard to kind of justify going to grad school and then all of a sudden making like minimum wage. I had to do it a couple of times with, family and friends, but knowing that I was bringing value to the team and doing as much as I could during the internship, like that's where your self-worth is. It's showing what you can do. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you can actually start turning down things. Like I actually did turn down a position because at one point I was like, okay, financially, that just doesn't make sense. And part of it was a little bit of self-worth. Like I got to the point now where I'm like, okay, I don't think I can do so much more than what they're offering.
Yep.
So it does, you will get to the point, but I hate to say it, but I mean, beginning it is kind of paying your dues, but you just have to look at self-worth a little bit differently than just money, because you shouldn't be getting into this industry for money. You're not going to make it for a while. My current position here at Carroll is the first time I've had a full-time job, and I was 28 when I took it. So, I mean, it says something. Like this is really what you want to do. Like you find your self-worth and you find where you can actually provide value.
And how many, I always say, like, for a long time, until not very long ago, believe it or not, I had to work really hard to keep my softball addiction going, right? So I had to do other things to be able to make enough money to be able to coach, right? So, tell everyone out there, like, did you have other jobs? Like, what did you have to do to pay for your baseball habit?
Yeah. So while I was in grad school, that's what I paid. I paid to go to school. I paid to work for the baseball team. That's how I think of it. I actually joke with the coach now because I mean, it was a great experience. I would have done it anyway. But I do joke with him still that, yeah, I paid to work for you guys. When I was with the Rangers, thankfully, I'm frugal enough. I was able to work enough hours that I was able to kind of do it just working for the Rangers. So that worked out. My parents did help at the beginning. But the commissioner's office, I didn't work another job, but I just rented a room from a Dartmouth alum. So again, I just had a lot of help. And again, sacrificing. It's not like I could go out and buy dinner. Like I ate a lot of microwavable food, a lot of ramen. Occasionally the alum would get me some fresh fruits and stuff because she didn't like how I was eating, but that's what I had to do. And then the same thing with the Reds. I think the one time where I really had to work a lot of jobs was when I was the volunteer coach for the University of Dallas, because I wasn't getting paid at all. I actually worked 7 part-time jobs at the time, just so I could volunteer coach in whatever time I had left. And that lasted about a month and a half before I finally burned out. And part of that was just pride. I didn't want to ask my parents for help. I was living back home. I grew up in Texas. My parents are still there. I was living with them for a little while, and then they moved houses. And unfortunately, my stepmom is allergic to my cat. So it was either I find somebody to temporarily take my cat, or I worked 7 jobs to pay for an apartment. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm working 7 jobs. I'm not giving up my cat even for a couple of months.
No way.
If you can avoid it, I would completely recommend do not work 8 jobs. It's very exhausting, very tiring. Yeah, even now, I mean, I'm not paid as a coach at Carroll. I'm paid as an assistant athletic director. So that's my other duty. That's how I'm able to coach here, is because I'm also working that job.
Wow, that's passion, right? Jen, you could speak of Kelly signed a contract at what age was that? 40?
41, 42, yeah, full-time contract. So she had a lot of, like, similar to Bianca, some part-time jobs, side hustles, just had to make it work. And like you said, it's just your dedication and your passion, and you have to pay your dues to get where you want to be. And she was no stranger to working hard to make that happen, and it comes with a lot of sacrifice, but with a lot of benefit in the end.
It's awesome. So how many times in your life, Bianca, did you say this phrase, I can't because I have practice?
A lot.
Right?
I actually might have lost a couple friends because of that,
Yep.
especially once the season happens. Sorry, I can't. I've got practice. Sorry, I've got lifts. Sorry, I've got a game. Like it was. I mean, I've already been telling people now if I'll probably still be here for March. Our first game is supposed to be March 1st, and I'm already telling people I'm not scheduling anything in March because what's going to happen with the weather is something's probably going to get rescheduled, and I might have to tell you, sorry, I have a game. That's just how it is. But no, that was my life for the longest time.
It should be a responder in your text messages. Like it just should be one of the things that you could hit. I'm sorry, I've practiced. I can't. So
yeah,
if you can
do that now.
I think you're going to be doing it for a long time, my friend. If you could tell, so like that's a serious thing because I think kids, there's FOMO, right? The fear of missing out of things, and with everyone else doing, and the pressure. And a lot of kids, I think, feel comfortable coming here because other kids are also missing because they have practice, and so you're around like-minded people. But that's always hard. So if you could look back and say something to your 14-year-old self that was starting to go through that process of making those choices and maybe losing some friends along the way or feeling a little alienated at times, what would you tell your 14-year-old self?
Well, the people who really have your back, those are going to be the people who don't care that you have practice. They're going to be the people who say, all right, we'll try another time. Like they're going to be the ones who encourage you to go to practice instead of giving up practice to go hang out with them. And I've had friends like that who, like I'll have friends who I haven't talked to in a couple months because I'm so busy. They don't mind. They're like, they want to encourage me. They want to push me. They know this is what I want to do. And those are going to be the people who are with you for your entire life. Those are the people who are really going to matter, not the ones who get upset that you're following your dream. You don't want those type of people in your life because they're just going to pull you down.
They do. Yeah. Good point. So all the 14-year-olds out there, make sure you take note of that. Okay. So, and we're all looking at you like, wow, how does she accomplish all this? Like, and what's your work-life balance? How are you able to, I know you're like, what do you mean?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Someone asked me that, I just look at them really funny and I try to move on, but what's yours? How do you do it?
So honestly, I'm actually starting to get a little bit better, especially with everything that's happened in the last 4 weeks. I've had to force myself to take an hour or two out of the day where I just read, I do something else, I cuddle with my cat. He's actually been upset with me because I've been so busy, I'm never home. So he's actually the reason why I have a work-life balance because he's been expressing his upset. But I mean, I do have other interests outside of baseball that I like to, pursue, just little hobbies. So, I mean, you can sort of see it. I've got a piano right in the back. So yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I love reading. I love writing. I write for fun. I love music just in general. I also have a guitar. I'm like learning several different foreign languages. So I just try to schedule, even if I have to schedule it ahead of time, just scheduling, an hour or two where it's just for me. I might answer an email or a text or something, but for the most part, it's like I don't think about baseball. I try to do something completely different just to kind of reset and work on something that's just a little bit different. It's not easy because I go through those periods where I'm sitting here for 2 hours going, oh, I've got something I have to do for baseball. Like I should be doing that instead of this, but you just kind of have to force yourself to do it because otherwise you're going to burn out really quickly. And you don't want to burn out on one of the things that you really have a passion for.
Right.
I mean, it would be terrible for you to end your career before you really got started because you've done it so much that you actually burn yourself out. And that is a thing. It does happen.
That happens to a lot of people. We work with Dr. John Sullivan, who was the clinical psychiatrist for the Patriots for years. And he came in last year and he had a lot to say about the importance of sleep. Do you have to make sure that you schedule that into your day too? Believe it or not.
Sometimes, no, it does happen, and it's a little difficult, unfortunately, because Carol, we do have practice at 9 o'clock at night. So we'll practice until about 11:30, and then I got to go into work the next day. So there will be days where if I know I've got practice at 9, I don't schedule anything before 10 o'clock the next morning. So even if I'm not, like, I don't sleep in anymore. Just as a former student athlete and now being in the workforce, I just can't sleep past like 8. But even if I'm not sleeping, I'm at least relaxing and just resting. So
Right.
just something, I will not schedule anything before 10 just so I can just sit. But I do try to get sleep when I can. If there are days that I know I'm not going to have as much stuff, I'll probably go to bed early and just sleep for as long as I can.
Yeah, you need to. So, you have a brother who's also a pretty high level athlete. He's a professional soccer player
Yeah.
and he plays for the US men's team, I read, right?
Yes, he does.
So how competitive are you guys with each other, or is it supportive? Is it competitive? Like, what's
We're
your family reunion like? You must play like cornhole competitively in your backyard. I can't imagine.
when it comes to careers and passion, we're very supportive of each other. It is funny though, it's like I played soccer, but I don't really like watching it unless he's playing. So he knows that anytime I go to his game, I actually bring a book or a notebook to work on until he's on the field. So he knows I'm not watching until he's actually playing. But that's where
That's
our
awesome.
support is. Anything else though? No, we compete. We've probably had almost a couple of flip tables playing Uno. We always have one brother that we're always accusing of cheating. um, but we can be very competitive with each other, and it's not just games. That's just how we were growing up. I mean, our parents encouraged us to debate. I mean, my sister and I would be arguing in the car, and my dad would turn around and go, "Oh, what are you going to say about that?" And we're like, "Dad, you're supposed to be stopping us."
Take it on. Yeah.
I mean, we used to wrestle as kids. I once put my brother in a headlock, and my parents walked in and just walked out again.
There we go.
But no, I mean, it's always a good competitive, and I think it's just a natural thing because we all grew up playing multiple sports. That's just how we've always been. But we are incredibly supportive of each other.
And that has to be a huge reason why you're so successful. And competition's not bad. Like, we try to talk to our kids about this here, where it's okay to want to play. Like, it's okay to be friends with your teammate. But if you're a third baseman and your friend who's teammate's a third baseman, like, it's okay to still want to beat her. And that's a tough thing to reinforce in softball. Is it like that in baseball? Like, because we're all trying to peel it back. Like, what's it like in baseball, right? Is it the same way, or is it a little different?
It's pretty much the same way. And I actually try to think of it a little bit differently, especially as somebody who I was that person who I didn't really play a lot, but I purposely tried to compete with my teammate because it wasn't just me trying to get the position. It was the more I competed with my teammate, the more I first forced her to get better. And then
Yep.
that made the team better. So that's how I think of competition. It's not just because you're trying to get better or you're trying to get the position you want. It's because even if you don't, that's because you forced her to be better than you.
Yeah.
So the better you get, either you're going to get the position that makes the team better, or you're going to force her to become even better than that. And it still makes the team better. Either way, the team wins. So the competition isn't just you, it's everybody. That's how teams get better, is by pushing each other to be better than your teammate.
Yep. That was actually a question that I had, and you just answered it. I wanted to know how you would define yourself as a teammate, and I think you couldn't have said that better. So that's amazing. So one of my other questions was, how do you think your baseball players would describe you as a coach? Like three words that they would use to describe you as a coach.
Definitely laid back.
Okay.
Passionate.
Yep, for sure.
And competitive.
Yep.
I compete with my players, and that's, again, it's trying to make them better. So like when I throw batting practice, it's not to make them feel good, it's to try to strike them out.
There you
Like,
go.
you have to be better than me. I'm not going to just let you hit. I mean, yeah, we have our days where, okay, I just want you to swing just to work on your swing. but I throw mixed pitch BP. So it's not even just fastballs. Like I am trying to get you to strike out on my curveball. That is my goal. And they know this because I tell them our goal is to try to make you fail, to make you better. So I'm always trying to compete with them.
Failure recovery is so big. So, I mean, I'm sure, there have been times in your life, believe it or not, everyone, I bet Bianca's failed a few times, maybe, I don't know. She seems pretty successful, but I mean, we fail all the time and we're in a sport that fails all the time, but 70% of the time. So let's say you strike out or something happens, like what's your talk track?
The strikeout isn't the issue. It's whether I learned something from it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if I struck out, but I learned what I need to do to adjust and I can get up to the plate the next time and do better, then I learned something. It's progress. That's still something I want to see. The one thing I don't want to see as a player and a coach is that I do the same thing and I keep failing over and over and over again. And for me, there's two different types of failing. One still is progress and the other isn't. So if I'm working with a hitter and I tell him that he's too under the ball, so he needs to make an adjustment. And then the next time he swings, he's too on top of the ball. Well, yeah, he still failed, but he made an adjustment. Like the last thing I want to see is you continue to be under the ball constantly, because then you didn't try anything. You didn't try to change. So even if you failed the next time, and it's in the opposite direction, at least you're trying. That is still progress. So it's not the strikeout that's the issue. It's whether you actually get better at it or better from it, and you don't let it affect your next at bat. Because once you strike out, it's done. Learn from it, get over it, go to the next at bat. You also don't want it to affect how you do the next time because you can't control what already happened in the past.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna throw you into the hot seat right now because I need everyone to get better at this. Okay, so if I said, Bianca Smith, what are you good at? How would you answer that?
I'm good at finding where I provide value to a team and then becoming even better at that. So I don't come in with a specific goal. This is what I want to do and that's it. I come in looking at the team going, okay, where do I fit? Where can I help? How can I get better at that?
Love that. Did everyone hear that? Like, it wasn't like, I don't know. She knows herself and she's not afraid to say, and that was a thank you for that. I can't even, you have no idea how hard we work at understanding that it's really important to be able to say that. So thank you. So you're obviously extremely confident woman, but when you get the butterflies in the belly sometimes, like every now and then, like sometimes butterflies mean like I'm so excited I can't stand it. And sometimes butterflies mean, wow, I'm not sure what's ahead and I might have a little bit of like, ooh. Can you explain, maybe you probably have both right now. I mean, you have a big move ahead of you, right? So which one do you want to answer first? The one that's like, oh, I'm not sure, like, or the one that's like, I'm so excited?
I definitely have both. The excitement definitely kicks in more than the doubt, but the doubt still tends to kick in. And it's always, for me, it's like sometimes random moments where I'm just not expecting it. It just kind of hits me. And it's usually oh, okay, am I really doing the right thing? Is this really what I want to be doing? As a coach, sometimes it's, am I teaching them the right way? But then I just have to remind myself, and I say this to my players too, like, trust your process, trust what you've done. You got here, so obviously you did something right.
Yep.
And you're not going to be perfect at everything. You're human. So that's another thing too. Like, I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know I'm going to be wrong. The moment I told my players after, last year, I came to them and said, look, I'm sorry, I messed up. I was teaching you guys the wrong way. And this year, the communication has been so much better because they have no problem coming to me asking questions. And they know that I'm going to be honest if I don't know the answer. And if I don't, I'll just go look it up and try to find the answer for them. So I think that's helped with the self-doubt, knowing that I don't always have to be on my game. I don't always have to be perfect. I don't always have to be right. And anybody who expects me to be is ridiculous because you can't expect anybody to be 100% all the time. That's just exhausting. And it's impossible. Like it's going to happen as a player too. You're going to have days where you're not completely on your game, and all you can really control is how much effort you do put in. So if you only have 70%, give that 70% as much as you can.
Yep.
And then the excitement, yeah, I mean, everybody wants those days because it feels awesome. You just get hyped up, you're prepped. Like that's me on game day. I get those butterflies because I'm just so excited to get going as a player and a coach.
How many Red Sox sweatshirts have your mom and dad, have your family purchased already?
I don't think they've purchased any yet. I bought them hats for Christmas. I bought them a flag to put outside the house. But I will admit, this is a kind of a rough transition for my family because we're from New Jersey.
Your Yankees fans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Third generation, actually. My grandmother was a Dodgers fan before they left Brooklyn. And we've got some Pirates fans. I think my stepdad is fifth generation from Pittsburgh. So I bought my dad a flag for the front of the house, and it took him 4 days to finally put it out. I already have one of my brothers went, I'm not wearing the hat. I'll wear your jersey, but I'm not wearing the hat. I was like, all right, I'll compromise. So knowing him, he's going to be wearing his Yankees cap with my Red Sox jersey.
There you go. It's all
So,
right.
yeah, I have
here now. I have a Rodman shirt that I bought for myself. So, we all have to go with our family and our friends sometimes, right? Have you been to Fenway Park?
Yes, I have. Thankfully, going to Dartmouth, that was the closest field. Actually, my mom actually used to get mad at me because we would get free tickets from Dartmouth to go to Red Sox games. So I went to several, and she was the diehard Yankees fan to the point where she's like, no, don't go. I'm like, it's free professional baseball tickets. I'm going. Like, I don't care if it's the Red Sox. I'm going to a game. And she was like, no, you can't go. So that was interesting.
This is really important. Do you know all the words to Sweet Caroline?
Probably not.
Oh, we gotta work on that.
I know the important parts.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yep. The only part they turn the music down for. I know that part. Actually, see, off the top of my head, I say no, but I'm sure if it's played, I would be able to get probably like 90% of it because I've heard it so often. It's just,
yeah,
I wouldn't be able to just start singing it immediately. I'd have to hear it first.
I won't ask you to do that today. Maybe on our next call, we'll have you go solo. We'll get it on the piano. Yeah. Well, that's really neat. So you guys have the Yankee connection, and I will say, like, standing back from afar and watching everything that happened with Kelly and how supportive the Yankees are. I mean, they're not just out to win baseball games. Like I have so much respect for the organization, and I'm a Red Sox person. I mean, I live right outside of Boston, and I'm such a Yankees fan now. I respect them so much for how they supported Kelly through her journey and just everything about them. So I think you two will have a nice relationship. I think, I'd love to stay in touch. I know, in respect for your time, Bianca, you have a call coming up pretty soon, and I could talk to you for another 3 hours and be smiling the whole time because this is so fun. But I want to thank the Kelly Rodman Baseball Foundation. Jen, I really appreciate you being on this call, and I mean, I think this is just really cool. It's day one of really good things that are going to start to happen, and I hope that I'm here once, twice, 3 times a year interviewing more people like you, Bianca. Like, I hope someday one of my kids that are on the call right now, she's the girl we're interviewing, and then hopefully, honestly, someday it's not such a big deal of being a first, right? Hopefully it's just kind of normal, and it's what we're looking for. So, Jamie, are you on? Do we have any kids want to ask any questions? We have like time for one question, I think.
Yeah. So there was nothing in the chat room, but some people, when they registered, did provide some questions that I thought were really, really interesting. And I think, Bianca, you obviously touched on a lot of stuff, and thank you so much for that. But I think if
I have one, Jamie, then there's one that I could ask that I didn't ask. Do you know which one it is? It's from Kelly Colleran.
No, I don't have that one. Which one is? Why don't you just ask it? That one would be good.
Oh, well, I think there are two. You know what? I'm going to end on one because I think we touched on Kelly's. All right, ready, Bianca? So what do you aspire to be 10 years from
That's hard. I mean, I can
I
tell
know.
you what I aspire long term. I don't know if it'll take me 10 years or less. It's probably going to take me more.
Okay.
But I guess 10 years for sure, I want to be in or part of a major league staff. Eventually, I want to be a manager, but at least 10 years, I want to at least be part of the staff.
Not a girl. All right, we're gonna watch you, because you have all these other degrees, which would lead you to maybe other roles, but that would make you like have to get out of your turf shoes and put heels on. So
Oh, no, I don't wear heels. I might be 5 foot, but I don't wear heels.
no, all right. So we'll keep you on the field. Then we're gonna look forward to seeing you out there. We hope to see you here when you have time. I'm gonna hold you to that because you'd have a sold out group of people following you, and let's do some fun stuff. Let's do some special stuff with the foundation and work together. And honestly, like I thank you both so much. You're incredible women, and all I could ask for in this lifetime is to just give great role models for my kids that are coming through here. And so thank you very, very much. Okay. You have it. And thank you, Jamie. Thank you for Jamie's our new hire at PFP. She grew up here and she gets the director of events job, and right away she's on the phone with Bianca. So she made this possible, and I can't thank you enough for being that girl that does that. So keep at it, kiddo. Okay.
Thanks.
She said okay, but hey, there you go.
Hi.
All right.
Thanks, Dee.
Jen, any parting words?
Yes, thank you again. And Bianca, good luck with everything. And for everyone that's going to watch this and listening now, just keep checking the website for the events and all the updates and the social media. There's videos on there. You learn more about Kelly, her story. There's an email. If anyone has any questions, and be more than happy to answer, reach out and assist, more ideas of areas to help. You came up with a lot of great things today through the discussion. So hopefully keep growing this and continue to tell Kelly's story and impact the game in her absence. So that's kind of my mission. So I appreciate you guys very much, and thank you.
Thank you. All right. Have a good day. Bianca, get to your next appointment on time.
Yes.
All right.
Guys.
Jen, get back to work servicing 1,000 athletes.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.